Mid lane is entering a brand new meta and it's changing the way you need to use the fundamentals in lane. The good news, if you understand those fundamentals, you can start winning a lot of games fast because barely anyone outside of the professionals have caught on. I know this because I spend every day playing, studying and coaching the game. And lately I've seen a lot of insane results from the players that I coach and from using it myself. In this video, I'll show you the exact mid lane strategy that's winning games right now and how to use those fundamentals to climb. So the new way of winning games as a mid laner is all about this concept. It's about lane control. This is the ability to be present and to fight at plays that happen on the map. Now, what does this mean exactly? That means that we want to control the trades, control the waves, and be ready at potential fights and plays that happen on the map. And I'm going to show you exactly what that looks like using the classic mid lane fundamentals. So I'm going to have two VODs that I'm going to compare side by side. And I played both of these yesterday. Same matchup, same day, different player. One game I'm going to be playing versus a GM Chell player in EU. And versus the other game, I'm going to be playing versus T1 or Fnatic, the new Fnatic mid laner, Poby. And we're going to see a vast difference in the ability to execute on these fundamentals and how this eventually leads to favorable game states in both situations. So stick around to the end of the video because it's going to be real important that you watch everything so you can understand and grasp everything and then apply it in your own games. So in this video, I'll teach exactly how to use the fundamentals to get lane control, mainly wave management, resets, and trading. I'm also going to talk about the new meta of itemization and the mindset behind it, and also how you can apply that exactly in your own solo queue games. And then I'm also going to talk about how to use that lane control to then impact the rest of the map as a mid laner. And of course, we're always going to be talking about those damn junglers again. So we're going to start off with the first example, which is me playing versus the GM Challenger player. And the way that we're going to be navigating the fundamentals in the lane is I want to get control in this lane. Now, I'm playing Syndra versus Viktor in both matchups. And it's a really tricky matchup for Syndra because Viktor is a little bit of a stronger early game trader than Syndra is. And that means that I actually got to be a little bit careful. I've also opted in for a very defensive rune setup because my mindset right here, I was like, okay, I can probably get away with good lane fundamentals and still get value out of the runes. It worked in this one, but as you see in the next VOD versus Poby, it doesn't really work. Now, we're going to mainly talk about trade and wave control. What do I mean with that? Well, usually these go hand in hand because trading in lane doesn't necessarily happen randomly. Otherwise, it would be a fighting game. No, it's League of Legends. It's all about waves. It's a game that revolves around waves. So good quality wave states lead to good quality trades. Now, let's start off with the mindset of the trades. The way we want to grab up lane control is by being able to take good quality trades into this Viktor. And the way that we're going to do that is by having good quality wave states. And eventually, the good quality trades will lead to better quality wave states, which then allow us to match up with the tempo of the game. And very specifically, we're going to look at our jungle for that. But let's first talk about the trading mindset that I have and the wave management mindset that I have in this lane. Very specifically, what I want to do is I want to not take as much damage while dealing a little bit more damage to him. That's just my mindset here in this lane. Because I know that if I deal a little bit more damage to him, while he doesn't deal that much damage to me, we're going to be in a position where I can eventually be the first one to move, in this case, around Scuttle Timer. Because Scuttle Timer is very important because there's potentially a fight happening. And if we can win those fights and if we can impact the game, that's how we're eventually going to be winning the game as a mid laner. So it's very important that I do take these good quality trades so I can be in a position where I can first move. And you see that I went for the push in the early game. I had the first two waves. I had the pushing wave state, which allowed me to time my abilities onto the enemy last hits. If you get a pushing wave state, you will create trading windows because you have already last hit your minions, which then lead the enemies to then still last hit them. And you see right here instantly, my good quality trading and my good quality wave management lead to us killing the Wukong because of the fact that we had full lane control. We were first on the wave. We were taking good quality trades, which means that Viktor had to reset before me. And that allowed me to impact the play that was happening on the map. And just a bit of a recap, the reason why I was able to get this control, if we go back into the vault, is because Viktor was really late upon the wave. He got chunked out by the Melio, he needed to take the reset, and even though he's a lot stronger of an early game champion, and he has a lot stronger setup because he's running the Aerie page while I'm running First Strike scaling and I'm a Syndra, because I had this early wave control right here, this allowed me to take good quality trades. You see how he needs to last it still while my minions are already lasted. This allows me to now posture aggressively. I got the backup from these minions, which allow me to now land abilities on top of him while he needs to CS. You see, really easy. I can now hit him while he needs to last it. And this allows me to get control. I hit level up spikes earlier. This gives me the lane control. So a pushing wave state in mid lane, especially when you're playing mages, is so unbelievably important to get that lane control because it impacts the rest of your trades. Now, let's take a look at the second example. In this case, I'm going to be playing versus Poby, and Poby knows this. So Poby also now recognizes that, and he's heavily contesting the early push. He knows that I've got a weak setup, and therefore he's able to zone me off the wave in the early game, and he's instantly grabbing up the push. And what he does is he makes sure that he trades onto me with his strong trading tools onto his Q. Now, I do land a few good quality abilities on top of him, and for my setup, I'm actually doing not that bad at all. But what we recognize is that versus Poby in this case, I can't get away with my weaker setup because he's just now zoning me off the wave and he's starting to win these trades onto me. Very slowly, he is pushing me out. He is nuking me while I'm fighting for my creeps, the ones that he has already lost hit. This leads to me being in a position where I'm now fully losing lane control. If something happens on the map, number one, I need to contest the wave state, which he's already gotten into a great position. And number two, if a fight happens, I'm lower HP, which leads to him being able to be in a position where if a 2v2 happens, he's just going to be a lot stronger because he's already dealt so much damage towards me, leading him to be in a position of full control. And this is a very powerful thing because you see that I can't really walk up to the wave. I can't affect this wave state without getting completely nuked. And you see that Poby is actually doing a really good job at punishing my weaker early game and my setup. And what I learned from this game was actually that, hey, if I play against someone that has real understanding of the game, I can't get away with my build and with my setup that I'm doing. I will be able to do this versus weaker players, but for stronger players, I'm instantly getting pressured. And you see that if potentially a contest would happen onto the scuttle, I would have nothing to say on that scuttle grab. I would be completely out of order, not being able to play. So I'm lucky that in this case, the jungles are playing on the different side of the map. Otherwise, I would be in a lot of trouble. You see that I'm just getting zone off the wave. I'm doing a pretty decent job keeping up in CS, actually, given the state of the lane that I'm actually in. I'm just sitting back, not interacting, because I simply can't. I'm actually getting a decent amount of stacks as well. So I'm coming by, like I'm minimizing, but if something happens on the map, I'm just in a really tough position. Now, eventually this leads to me becoming really low and forcing myself onto a reset. And you see that in this entire sequence, Victor was in full control because he had better wave states, he took better trades, and I was completely on the back foot. Now we understand how we want to be playing the waves and how we want to trade, right? We can now move on to different fundamentals. And I want to slightly talk about some final things, right? You can, of course, influence your wave states in such a way that you can get slow pushing waves into the enemy. So it's okay to sometimes lose priority or let the wave be slightly get towards you, because you can eventually turn that into the enemies. In a lot of previous videos that I made, I talk about synchronizing tempo, that it's okay to sometimes be on a defensive position and then turn that into an offensive position. That is absolutely something that you can do, and I'm going to show that in the next few examples as well. And the mindset that I want you guys to have with the trades is we don't trade to kill the enemy laner. That's old League of Legends. No, we trade with the mindset to make them lower, pin them in a tower, and make it impossible for them to get anything done upon the map. And that is the power of mid lane, because if you get shoved in, if you get pushed in, you're just a sitting duck waiting for the enemy lane to just take over the big plays. The power of playing on mid lane is that you have access to both objectives in a very short, it's just really close towards mid lane. So that means that any contest that you want to do on an objective, mid lane has influence over it. That's the power of mid lane as well. A lot of your decisions and your laning can lead into control on the map. Very similarly to as jungle. That's why mid and jungle influence each other so much as well, and why you gotta look so much at what your jungle is actually doing. Now we're now going to talk about the mindset of resets and the mindset of item control. And this is a lot what we see with the new Roa builds popping up everywhere left and right. In itself, Roa is actually just not a good item. The stats on Roa are just not that good for most mid laners. But the reason why this item is being built so much is because it gives lane control. Why does it give lane control? Because the double Ruby spike is just too OP. The value of 300 HP in the early game is just insanely high. And a lot of mages have decent base damages. And if you can get the double Ruby crystal, what happens is that you actually win the trading war, and that means that you win the war of the lane control, and that means that you have more impact than the enemy laner. It's not that these items are good by any means. Of course, on some champs they're good, but you'd rather have for scaling purposes you'd rather have a different item, but it just generates so much control in the lane. That's why all these pros are building it. I remember I talked with AJ yesterday as well. AJ, really high elo challenger player in NA. And AJ asked to C9 Loki. He very specifically asked, Loki, what do you think when you look at my gameplay? And Loki said, early game is the most important. You got to put more emphasis on that. And what he means with that is in really high elo games, lane control, good quality mid laners will be able to, if they pin you down, they will be able to just control the game and take over the game with the decisions that they make from pushing you in and taking lane control. And that's why at really high elo, Roa is a really good item. Now, of course, there's also going to be players watching, Tim, what the fuck you talking to me? I'm not challenger. I understand, right? What I recommend for anyone that's below Grandmaster is don't go Roa. Don't build Roa randomly to force lane control like that, because it might hurt some of your scaling or your transition into the mid game. Only if you're really good with your decisions, it's worth doing that. Otherwise, most likely you're able to get lane control using these fundamentals and using these topics that I'm going to explain to you, just with your normal build as well. And that's just the reality of it, and that's completely fine. Now, I'm going to talk about some other aspects of itemization right here in this in these clips as well. We're also talking about some other reset fundamentals, because reset and itemization kind of go hand in hand. Now, we're going to continue the first clip with Victor coming back from base, and I reset later than him. Now, there's a very important thing that I don't stay in the lane, even though that I was still full HP. Now, I want to instantly match his reset. Why is it so important that I instantly match his reset? Because I can instantly fight for lane control. I don't want to give him a pushing out wave state into me for free. Because what's going to happen is that he can then start pinning me in the tower, take good quality trades. I'm going to be in an awkward spot, so I instantly want to contest it if possible. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to TP back and fight for lane control. And I'm going to now try to take good quality trades. Now, what we're going to be seeing that in this case, right, I actually have a full Amp Tome over him because of the early lane control that I have. So a full Amp Tome, that's a big spike. That's a lot of money. And in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to let the wave slightly come into me, because if you look at the map, my Pantheon is on a defensive positioning. I'm going to sync up a little bit with him. I want the wave to be slightly towards my side, so I can then turn it eventually into slow pushing wave state into him. Slow pushing wave states are just OP. Slow pushing wave states is what the current meta of mid lane is all about. So try to get yourself in a slow pushing wave state. And you see that in this case, right, even though that I'm an item, a full 20 AP ahead of Victor, I'm taking shit trades. You see those QEs? I'm missing everything. He's having good movement, but gotta give credit where it's due. He's having good movement, he's dodging out on my QEs, and he's winning the trade war. And that means that I'm now in a position where I'm losing lane control. I don't want to lose lane control. I need to get out of this position into a new position where I can get lane control again. Now, what's the solution? I need to get the fuck out. So what I do is I just start pushing the wave so I can instantly be in a position of lane control again. And you'll see that that's what I'm doing. My Pantheon is going to start off the dragon, but this is really awkward because if a 4v4 breaks out, I can't really play here. So I'm gambling upon the fact that the enemies are not contesting my bot lane onto this dragon. And the reason why I feel comfortable doing so is because my bot lane has full prio and I leave a ward for my team. So I feel comfortable, okay, maybe I can leave my team here without being needed. Matter of fact, I wasn't that necessary by low HP anyway. And I can cheat this timer to get a little bit of a reset. And now look at the lane state again. You see that Victor, in this case, is in a position where he's low on resources. He's got no mana. I now have full lane control. So this reset put me in a position, yes, I lost 2 minions, but if something breaks out upon the map right now, I'm going to be useful while he is not. And that is insanely powerful because that leads to me being able to do stuff on the map. And of course, it's solo queue. Stuff will happen upon the map. And I've now got an even more massive item advantage on top of him. Now also with my extra mana, I'm more liberal in my ability usage, a little bit too liberal, missing all my spells. It is what it is. Sometimes it happens. We still get skill shots. But you see that I'm now taking control of the lane, and I'm now looking at what my Pantheon's doing because I want to look to try to play with him. If Grub's fights happen right now, I'm in a really happy position. I want shit to happen upon the map right now. The longer this lane state goes, because I took that reset and he hasn't taken a reset yet, the better it is for me. So what we see right now is that Viktor is recognizing, hey, I can't do anything and Grubs are coming up. This is a big problem, right? This is a really big problem. He knows that it's a very big issue. So he's now taking the reset. I understand that. That's fine. What I'm going to do, match the reset, counter the reset, because otherwise we're going to be in that position where he's now back in the lane with lane control because he's taken the reset and I have not. So I'm now matching the reset and I'm now buying the Lost Chapter. I'm now buying the Dark Seal. And what we're then find is that we're now in a position where I'm in full lane control again. I have a full Amp Tome and a Dark Seal of damage over on top of him while he's got the boots instead of the Dark Seal. So I am now, again, stronger than him, making it easier for me to contest. And especially now getting towards my spike of my Q upgrade, I'm going to be able to fully control the lane from this point, purely by good item control and reset management. Now, we're now also going to show this in comparison with the Poby VOD that I played again. And let's see how he controls his items versus me. So, in the same position, I now need to take myself the reset. And he's got a little bit more money than me. He's got a little bit more money than me because he's played the lane a little bit better. He's got a little bit more extra gold to reset upon. So, he's got 31 CS, I got 23 upon the reset. So 8 more CS is quite a bit of money. What happens is that he actually builds very, very smartly, while I build like a complete buffoon. So what you'll find is that I bought myself a glowing mode. Glowing mode is completely useless. I get refill, I get Amp Tome, glowing mode. I should have bought Dark Seal, Amp Tome, and then reset later for another refill and just continuously keep these resets going to put him under pressure in the item and resource department. But what happens right now is even though I land a beautiful QE on top of him, he's got Ruby Crystal plus Dark Seal. This is one of the most stat gold efficient items combinations that you can buy. It's crazy because what I did, I landed this beautiful QE combo on top of him and it seems like I did no damage. And I didn't because he's got so much effective HP. And he now reached the level 5. I land another Q. He lands 1E. He's already in full lane control right here. Purely because of the fact that he's bought stronger items than me. My items are useless. And he's instantly matched the reset. You see that Poby, even though he was in a great position in lane, he didn't overstay his welcome in the lane. He instantly kept pressuring by resetting and instantly starting to contest me. I do not have a single opportunity, by the way, not a single wave set, not a single opportunity to do anything upon the map. And he's just gapping me in these trades. Also, because of the fact that he's better champ, better setup, but also better itemization. And I'm fully losing control. I'm losing grip over this lane. I'm lucky that nothing's happening on the map. I'm lucky that the enemies aren't taking dragon, aren't doing anything, and that my side lanes are winning and my jungle's winning. Otherwise, this game would just be complete annihilation and a stomp. And you see that I can't even remotely contest because he's just stat checking me. He's beating me. There is no counterplay. He is playing the fundamentals correctly. He's buying better than me. He's got a better setup and he's playing the fundamentals at a better level than me. So I got no control. I can't do anything. I'm a victim in this game. And that's okay, right? We got to give credit where it's due. I get myself dove and it's just end of review. Just completely game over from this point right here. Just absolutely game over. And it's real interesting to see that it happens like that because this is just the reality. This is just the reality of mid lane nowadays. This is what it's all about. Now, if you have this lane control, right, what you want to do is you want to start synchronizing your play timers up with your team. So what's exactly happening upon the map? You want to start looking at your jungle's location and you want to start moving together with them. That is the power of utilizing all of these concepts and turning them into actual victories. I've talked about this before in some previous videos, but now you see how you actually got to utilize these reset fundamentals and these trading and these wave fundamentals to actually get into that position. Okay, you have to understand that if you can do this consistently, and if you show that you are the better laner than the enemy laner, you'll be able to win about 70 to 80% of your games. And that is just the reality of having this power, because you got so much influence on the map. You got so much influence to match plays what your teams are making, create opportunities yourself, because you got this lane control, that the games are just gonna fall into your hands. And I've been talking about this for a longer period of time right now in my coaching sessions, and also in some previous parts of my content. Very soon I also got myself an unranked to master on Orianna, which I go a lot deeper on this, on all of these topics here as well. And what I want you guys to understand is that whenever you get into this position of lane control, you want to utilize your lull states, which is the downtime of the game after you pushed out a wave or whatever, to ask yourself two things. Number one, what is the next objective that I can be playing for and I can translate my lead for? It's not about solo killing the enemy laner. It's about translating your lead throughout the map. And you usually do that by also looking at your jungle's location. Where is my jungle going? What is the next play that he's going to be going for? And if you can complement that, that's when you're going to be in a very commanding position. You can also empower this by utilizing your wards very smartly. Your warding and your leaning wants to be located towards the place of where the plays are going to be happening. So either of where your jungle is going to be clearing towards, or where the next objective is going to be. So place a control ward. In this case, if my jungle is playing to bot and I would have lane control. I don't in this case, but imagine I have lane control, right? What I want to do is I want to then place my control ward here in this bush, the yellow ward a little bit deeper. I can then heavy lean towards bot. Every second matters when a play happens on the map, by the way. If I stand in the middle, I'm already 3 seconds faster if I stand right there to any play that happens on the bot side. Besides that, if I get ganked through the top side, I can then escape through bot, and I'm leaning towards my vision, so I'm safe, I'm ungankable, and I'm fully exerting pressure on this side of the map. I can always nuke the wave, duck off into the fog of war, which is right here in this bush, which will then put the enemy bot lane under pressure as well. We as mid laners have so much control if we play for this mindset. But one of the key things you have to understand, and that's what I see with a lot of lower ranked players, is that they sometimes just take really bad trades, or they trade too heavily, so that they get overcooked in this 1v1, that they try to focus too much on the 1v1 or get caught up with taking plates. Taking plates is nice, it's a bonus. And they take too many bad trades. So even though that they're winning in the 1v1, they're not actually influencing the map because they're not high HP enough to actually play on the map. Or they're not resetting properly to match the enemy's reset or get that item advantage or be on resources so you can actually influence the play. A lot of lower ranked players are actually staying stuck on low HP, on low resource in the lane, trying to sneak in that extra bit of gold on these plates, ruining their tempo, ruining their influence on the map, basically. Okay, so very specifically, right, to recap and end this video off right here. How can we improve this? How can we review this ourselves? I want you guys to go into the review with the lane control mindset. Very specifically, right? If something happens on the map, right, and we are not able to be present for whatever reason, maybe the enemy mid laner moves first, maybe we didn't recognize what was happening. The way that I want you guys to go about it is to rewind it 30 to 60 seconds, and I want you to guys review this with the lane control mindset. And I want you to very simply ask yourself the question, how comes I'm not able to be at that play first? Second question, right? What could I have changed to be there? And then you specifically want to look at either your trades, maybe you took shit trades, you were low HP, and therefore you weren't able to move. But maybe the enemy laner out-traded you, like in this example with me, where Poby just murdered me in lane. And you can't move because he has the first move, he's warding and leaning better, that's fine. Maybe you fucked up your wave states. Maybe your wave got frozen on the enemy side, and you needed to shove it in while a play was happening, or you didn't crash at the proper time, or you allowed the enemies to slow build into you at a timing of a play happening. You can also just backtrack this in the review. You can literally improve upon that by backtracking it like that. Another way that you can view it, and I answered a VOD question of that today in my coaching program, is the player took really good trades, he had perfect wave states, and then what happened is that he stayed on low resources and he took a plate because he didn't match the reset and he didn't play with the lane control mindset, which led him to, yes, he got a nice bit of 125 monies from the plate, but then a play happened and he was out of resources and he couldn't play, so he lost the lane control. These are all ways to view it. This is happening very frequently in your games. And if something happens upon the map that you don't have any control of in the early lane, or that you can't match, or that your wave state's not good, ask yourself the question and problem solve it. Try to find yourself in a position of visualize a position and how you could have done it. What were the things that you could have changed to get into a position of control? A really good example, right, versus me versus Poby right here, right? A really good example. I'm going to show you 2 examples in this game because I lost lane control versus Viktor and I solved it also by properly resetting, right? Because I recognized the mindset that I need to be in his lane. Now, very simply put, my trades were just dog shit in the lane after I came back. I had better items. He just used his E onto the wave. I just need to punish him onto this minion. And I was too greedy and I traded too early. So I use my cooldowns, I miss everything, and I lose all trading pressure. Now, I've got another opportunity right here. I missed my Q because I was slightly too far out. And what happens right now is on the next minion, I could punish him here as well. I'm missing trading opportunities. I'm not trading well. I'm too passive in the lane. And I'm not punishing his E cooldown right here because I'm standing all the way in Narnia and not properly pressuring him while I could. And then I'm also missing my abilities because I'm not timing them properly and I'm skill checking a little bit too much. And that leads to me being in a position where I'm slowly losing control of the lane. Skill checking too much, not playing the trades smart and towards the fundamentals, leading me to lose control of the lane. Very clear problems here in which that I got a little bit overwhelmed. That's okay, that happens. That happens to everyone. That's why we review, that's why we problem solve it. Now, going back towards the other Poby example, right, where I lost lane control starting from minute 1. Why did I lose lane control? Well, I disrespected Poby. I simply disrespected him as a player. I thought I would be playing against an average GM 800 LP player in my games right here, not a professional player that would know exactly what he was doing. So I took the setup thinking, okay, I can play with the setup that I have a better chance of winning the game versus these GM players, which scaling matters a little bit more than full lane control because I feel like I can do a completely fine job versus them even with these runes. But I was wrong. I didn't respect the enemy laner. I got played for a very strong player. And what happens is I get instantly punished for it because I simply can't contest. So for the next time, I'm going to take Ahri. I'm just going to need to respect the enemy champion. Next time, I'm going to take Ahri. I'm going to take Cookies or Resolve, Inspiration or Resolve secondary. And I need to also make sure that this first Q isn't as dog shit as it is. This first Q, I skill checked him. He out-skill checked me. I lose complete control of the wave because of the fact that I used his Q. He's now abusing my cooldown, forcing me off, getting prio, instantly leading to him getting more lane control because he's controlling the space in the lane very well here. So I just basically get completely shafted level 1 because of bad setup and a bad Q, and it's just end of review. That's just how it is. One mistake like that can just completely end your game, or at least end the first part of your lane right here. And I need to itemize a little bit better in these type of situations. Of course, it's a tough matchup, but you got to keep yourself to a high standard in these type of situations. Enough yapping on my end, right? We covered everything that you need to know about the new meta and the new way of winning games on mid lane and all the fundamentals that are part of turning this into winning game states for yourself. Now, if you guys are serious about improving, I recommend you check out the link in the description, which leads to my coaching program. Otherwise, I see you guys real quick on a new video. Bye-bye.